Welcome to What's That Pen, helping you find your next perfect pen. Today we are looking at the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen, the one with the brush tip. And we are specifically looking at the colored Pitt Artist Pen. And before we even dive into these ones, let me talk about the black one. I have never had good luck with the black Pitt Artist Pen. I find that it frays like that. It's nice because it's very widely available. It's in so many hobby and craft stores. However, it is going to be quite a disappointing pen. And I don't want that to influence your decision about the colored Pitt Artist Pen, because this one, for some reason, doesn't seem to wear nearly as quickly as the black one. And I don't know if that's just because when we use colors, we tend to switch it up a little bit more. But I have not had that problem with any of my colored Pitt Artist pens. So I just wanted to put that out there as we get started here. Now, since Faber-Castell is such a large company, they offer so many different types of pens. The pens that we are looking for are the brush pens, and you can determine which ones are brush pens by the B that they have towards the base, and thankfully B, brush, it all makes sense. They also have their fine liners. They have a soft brush, which is like paintbrush style, but these brush pens have a felt tip that is flexible. So there are so many different types of nibs available. You want to make sure you find that one with the B. Now, I also want to tell you about what makes this ink different. It uses something called Indian ink, which is waterproof, and it is also light fast. It's also acid-free. So this is the perfect pen if you want to add color to a piece and you want to make sure that it lasts. There are 60 different colors available. I have 9, a seriously lacking library of Pitt Artist Pen colors. But with 60 colors, you know that you can find the perfect color for your project. I also really like that there are quite a few colors that are closely related. It makes it easy to find a whole set of pens that will look great together, or ones that have high contrast that you can then use to pop off of one another. These pens are typically between $2.50 and $3.50, depending on where you get them. Now, while that might seem a little bit expensive, it is nice because you're only choosing the colors that you want. They do come as well in set packs of 4 or set packs of 6. Set packs where it gives you specific colors. So if you just want to get a few to try it out, that might be a good way to do it. But if you are in the store, you can definitely pull them out, test them out, and find the perfect colors for you. Remember though that when you pick your pen, don't pick the one at the top. That's the one that everyone is testing with. Instead, pick one that's a little bit lower or further back, because it is less likely that that one has been tested out by people who don't know how to use a brush pen. So let's take a look at how the pens perform. The pen actually flexes quite a bit from the very base of the tip. I prefer when the entire pen curves a little bit rather than just a straight flex from the base. But one thing that makes this not too bad is the fact that when it does flex from the base, it doesn't get overly thick. Sometimes the pens that flex right from the base can get quite thick on your downstroke, so it looks like the downstroke and the upstroke aren't really in sync with one another. That's not so much an issue with this one, even though it still has that base flex. It can take a while to get used to as you're using it, so just a heads up on that. But then it will give you a nice thick and also an easy to control thin. And I know that for me, that is a huge thing, especially because too often I rush when I'm doing brush lettering, and that's very common. It might be something that you're doing. So having a pen that's easy to control on the upstroke is a must. Let's look at the nib rebound. So going up and down quite a few times without changing the direction of the pen. And then you will see that it definitely is bowed up You can see it now is bowed down once I flip it. Remember that when you are using a pen, usually you are turning it after every few strokes, but having a pen that does have that stuck nib rebound and it's still even there a little bit, it just means that your strokes can become thicker or sloppier over time if you're not turning your pen often enough. So that's something to watch out for. I would say that the nib rebound on this is average to slow, which is not great, but can definitely be overcome by turning your pen as you write. For writing size, this is definitely a medium-sized pen, especially as your pens get a little bit older. They will have a bit of fray in the nibs, they will have a little bit more flex, so your writing will have to be a little bit bigger. For your brand new pen, especially if you're gentle on it, you can write a little bit smaller. They're a little bit easier to control. So I would say that over time, the pen changes. It's sort of like as you age, you might not necessarily fit into the same jeans that you did in high school, which is okay. But just keep in mind that they will change a little bit over time. So your brand new pens will not act the exact same as your slightly older and wiser pens. For juiciness, we will color our cup and smear. And there is, let's see, no smear happening there. So that's nice, especially if you're a lefty, that it's unlikely it's going to pull too much color as you come across with your hand. Now, for the ease of transition, I'm going to do it 2 times. I'm going to do it with a new pen and I'm going to do it with an older pen so that you can see the difference. This beautiful green color is a new pen for me. So it is quite easy to control the upstrokes and the downstrokes and even the transition. And you can see that my downstroke is not even super huge. One thing about the Pitt Artist pen is that as it ages, the downstroke becomes larger, but so does the upstroke. So that is just something to keep in mind. Now, this is one of my first Pitt Artist pens, and there is some fray at the tip. So my upstrokes are thicker. So are my downstrokes. See, that is an example of the little bit of fray that you do start to get. So when you get that, it can be really frustrating. Don't tell anyone this, but sometimes I'll take an X-Acto knife and just sort of like shear the little bits off. But if you look closely, you can definitely see that there is a little bit of fraying at the tip, and that is something that happens with a felt nib pen. It's just one of those things that unfortunately we can't seem to get away from. So that's why it's so important to use the right paper, and that is a nice smooth finish paper. And it's not just, oh, it feels smooth, that's part of it. But when it's a smooth finish paper, it's been put through the press twice, which means that the paper fibers that are always there sticking up off the page get smoothed down even more. So there's not as much to scratch at your pen as you're pulling it across the paper. So if you're still unsure as to what smooth paper is or where you can find it, there are quite a few that are easily available. And if you click on that link down below, it will all be listed there for you to make it super easy for you to get the best paper for your pens. Another option is a Rhodia pad. That is a nice smooth paper, a little bit more expensive and part of a pad, so it's not single. There are always so many things to keep in mind. All right, so for the ease of transition with these, I would say that they are also average. Because it gets more difficult as the pen gets older, you can see that the difference between the upstrokes and the downstrokes, not quite as crisp as it used to be when the pen is older and wiser, but it's still good for many things. You'll see that the vibrancy of the color doesn't change even as the pen relaxes. So I still do make use of them, but often they won't be necessarily for a final piece, or I just use them for a slightly larger scale piece. So in review, some of the strengths of these pens are hands down the number of colors that you can get and the fact that they are beautiful colors. It's also amazing that it is waterproof ink, which means that you can use these and then do some waterproof techniques on top, but that means you're using waterproof paper, so it's very likely you're going to end up fraying your pen, so keep that in mind as you're using it. They're also light fast and acid free, so if those are important qualities to you, this is a great option. They write at a medium size, which can be hard to find, and they do dry pretty easily, which is nice because then it is great for a lefty. Negatives are the fact that there is that difference between your old pen and your new pen. Your old pen is not going to be as sharp in the lines as your new pen, and that can mean that you're not going to want to grab any of your pens. What I would suggest is, as your pens age, as you realize that they're not quite as crisp as they used to be, but you still want to use them, just put a little bit of washi tape around the base of your pen, and that way you'll know which are your old practice pens and which ones are your new pens that you're going to use for your final projects instead. Now, I know a lot of people wonder about these pens because they are so widely available, and hopefully that will give you a sense of if these pens are right for you. While I can't say for sure, hands down, that they are my absolute favorite, I do love the options of colors available. If I have a specific piece that I'm working on that needs specific colors, I will go and pick up some colors, knowing that I now have some brand new fresh pens to use. If you are looking for something like that, or for a specific color for a medium-sized pen, then this is a good option for you. Do keep in mind that they can fray, so you are balancing out a little bit of the positive with the negative with these pens. I would say that on a scale of yay, okay, nay, or stay away, these ones are probably an okay. They have their uses, they're not necessarily perfect for all aspects, and they do age over time, but the colors that are available and their ink properties do make them something that you will want to consider for some of your pieces if you want them to last, or if you want to combine water onto the pieces that you're creating. I hope that this has helped you decide if these are a good fit for you. Next time you see them in store and you're wondering if you should spend your money on them, now you'll know if they're right for you, if you want to test one or a few, or if there's something that will be perfect for your next project.